Hello, and welcome to the Table and Well podcast. I'm Tennison.
And I'm Ginelle. Thank you for joining us as we discuss topics and give practical tools that help you live, grow, and be in healthy, joy-filled relationship with God, yourself, and others.
For more information and resources, or if you're looking for coaching, connection, and community, visit tableandwell.org. We hope you enjoy this podcast. We all have stories of how the family of God hasn't always been a safe or healthy place. But what if it could be? At Table and Well, we're making that vision a reality. One relationship, one family, and one leader at a time. Through practical tools that grow relational maturity, parents are restoring trust and connection with their children. Leaders are creating cultures of safety and joy in churches, schools, and missions. Students are gaining tools to increase their joy capacity, transforming their mental health and relationships for a lifetime. The ripple effect is clear. Families are becoming stronger, and communities are becoming healthier. We invite you to join us in rewriting relational stories. Your support will allow us to maintain and expand our reach and fund the development of school curriculum, marriage retreats, and ensure that scholarships are available for families and leaders who are wanting to continue their growth. Visit tableandwell.org/support to give today. Together we can build the safe, healthy family of God that we and the world most desperately need. Thank you for your support, and thank you for helping us rewrite relational stories. Hello, and thank you for joining us today for the Table and Well podcast. This is episode number 22 of season 3, and we are still very much in our Wisdom Keepers series, the role of elders in building healthy community. And we are going to be continuing, or actually concluding, our conversation with Dr. Jim Wilder today. If you have not listened to the first 2 episodes, I want to encourage you to do that, because there are just some incredible nuggets of wisdom in there from him, and for us as community, and as from an elder to community, and from an elder for other elders, and how we can really do this thing called community, and what the role of elders are in helping us grow. I think one of the greatest things, or one of the neatest sayings that he had on this podcast was the idea of elders are here to remember what we have forgotten, and to help us be who God designed us to be, and pull us into that level of maturity that God has for us all. So we're going to pick up right where we left off, and we are going to jump right in. So I hope you enjoyed this conclusion of our conversation with Dr. Jim Wilder.
When you begin to tend all 3 of those and bring them together, the main characteristic that you're building is, oddly enough, the idea that we can actually be quiet together.
Really? Talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the Song of Solomon, one of the descriptions of the ideal or perfect wife is that she's a garden where her husband can rest. And the people we trust are not the people who push us hard, but the people that we know we're safe to rest with.
Wow.
You know, if I go over to their house, I can just let down and just quiet. I can rest. I can, this is a sheltered place. You know, again, that gentle protector. Here's a place where I'll be sheltered. It'll be okay to be me. No one's going to attack me for being me. I can make some mistakes and learn how to be a better me. And that happens because we can quiet together, not because we can drive ourselves for success. Every once in a while, it's fun to drive yourself for a little success. You know, let's see if we can't take 3 bases instead of just 2. But you know, but that isn't what makes us trust other people. It's that here's a place where you can rest. And so, being a person of rest, I can quiet myself when things are going wrong. Yes, I know the water's boiling over on the stove, but that's okay. We'll take care of it. I know so-and-so is upset. Oh, someone fell down. This is okay. You know, someone forgot that they were a Christian. Okay, but This is the ability to rest and have rest together, quiet together, is the sign that I've come to the right place.
Yeah.
And it's an odd skill, but I also notice that when Jesus says, "Come unto me, all you that are weary and heavy laden, and I'm going to give you more productivity," isn't his promise.
Right.
Right.
So true.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. And so it's that idea. If we rest, we'll become the people that God wants us to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can actually live that out when people come in agitated, it's like, yeah, you come to the right place. Here you can find rest.
Mm-hmm.
That, I think, would be the central skill
Mm-hmm.
that I think, I'd want an elder to be spreading around.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones will grow if that one's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? I have some thoughts, but I'm curious how you would describe it. What would be practical ways that would be played out as far as that quieting together, right? Because some people will think like, oh, we just sit and we don't say anything, and that's quieting together.
Yeah.
Like what might that look like? What varieties, forms it could take?
Yeah. So a number of your listeners probably are familiar with the Emmanuel process or the Emmanuel prayer of just taking a deep breath, quieting ourselves, and then remembering a time when God was with us. And so quieting ourselves is almost identical to keeping an awareness of Jesus at all times. So the way I actually talk to myself and to other people is, okay, if Jesus panics, I'm going to panic too. And if he's not panicked, I won't. And if I'm wanting to panic and he's not, I'll go and ask him why he's not freaking.
Panic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's actually the skill. And you have to start doing it while everything's pretty calm, right? It's like anything. If you want to do it under combat conditions, you have to be able to do it when everything's quiet. And so you do start small, but at the end of the day, my next step was I'm going to review all the times that I lost connection with Jesus and ask him where he was and what did he want me to see during that time. And by noticing each day, here's where I lost because I always lose my peace when I lose the presence of Jesus. I mean, they just go together all the time, right? And then I go, oh, so that's how you see it. Oh, well, I have no idea. That has this interesting effect on you over the years of saying, oh, well, why should I wait till tonight?
Right.
Everyone's freaking out. And what I actually do is sort of funny. No one catches me doing this, but I'll actually disconnect from what's going on around from me and the mayhem, right? And I'll look down. I don't usually close my eyes, but I'll look down and take a deep breath. Say, okay, Jesus, where are you? I remember the time. Okay, I remember. Yes, okay. And then I'll look back up at people. They have no idea I just disconnected, found Jesus, and looked back up. Sometimes in 30 seconds, I got to do it again.
Right.
But, if I keep this process up, and it's funny that over, 25 years, no one has yet detected that I was doing that. It's like they're so busy with their mayhem that, it's like, oh, and they say, well, well, I did get caught, but no one knew what I was doing. I had a client that came in. There was a group of clients coming in for therapy. They all knew each other. And one of them said, you know what we talk about when we're not in here? And I said, no. They said, we want to learn how to pick lint like Dr. Wilder. Because we know when something is going wrong, you look down at your pants and you sort of pick some lint off if there is something there. So lint picking is what they thought I was doing.
All right.
If you look down your pants, you realize there's something there, you pick it off, right? But it wasn't what I'm doing. So it's kind of funny. Yes, lint picking would be the short answer of how to learn to do this.
I love it.
That's great.
That you didn't think it would go there, huh?
No, but that's great. I love it. Yeah.
I love it. So what's the difference then between quiet and peace? Like it seems like you find a place, we kind of use that
interchangeably.
Yeah, at times. And I'm curious if there is a difference.
I think they're just two English words trying to get at the same meaning.
Yeah.
because we normally have to learn it first when things are quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, we can say we're quieting ourselves and feeling peaceful in the presence of a bunch of tumult. But you can't learn it then. So
Right.
so it's sort of quiet as a precursor to learning
Finding peace.
to finding peace, and then afterwards you just get better and better at staying in it under a wider variety of conditions. And the nice thing about an elder is you've had a chance to try to find peace under all kinds of conditions, and that cumulative learning is what lets you do it under even some new ones. It's like, well, I've never had this one before, but I know God's always been with me before, so I'll find him again now and see if he's panicked, and if he is, I'll do it too, and if not, I'll just remember he's here with us.
Yeah, I love that. It's almost you're talking, you say that, it reminds me of like, so we have our granddaughter, and she's 2.5, and all infants do this, but when they fall down and bump their knee or something happens, they immediately look to whoever the parent is in the room to see what their reaction is going to be. And it's like, oh, okay, dad is cool, so I'm okay. I don't need to cry.
What
mom,
does this mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dad's
okay.
panicking, I'm going to panic. Yeah.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah. And so it's that idea of finding
his
face and finding Jesus in the middle of it, and saying, where's he at? What is he doing? And I love the way you keep saying you have ample opportunity to practice as elders. And so when you become an elder, you again, it goes back to what you said earlier too about remembering. Like, you remember, there's history there, and so
that
you can
peace is available.
And reminding us that there's peace available.
Yeah. And that quiet peace makes me think of rest, like learning to rest, like you shared about the people in Turkey. Like, we forget that so easily. It's so easy to be busy, 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 and then when chaos erupts, like, we have no access to quiet or rest because we did not find that on the daily.
Yep.
So it's
and so you see that's very contagious, because people will notice if there's somebody in the room who isn't freaking. Your mind is always looking for a bigger mind that can handle the thing that we don't. And the signs are very visible. It's not somebody who's just frozen and disconnected. You go like, they shut down, but they're not handling this. They're looking for somebody who's still looking at other people, engaging with them, like, I see you there. And the eyes looking back at me are like your grandchild. Are you freaking about this? No, why not? Jesus isn't, and he's here with us, and would you like me to help you to see him? And even with the funny thing, again, talking about somebody who came in for therapy, and they were totally not believers in God and anywhere else. They had a bunch of addictions and stuff like that. And after about a year or so, they had resolved their issues. And I said, well, it's time to, congratulate you on your success. And, we're done with therapy and stuff like that. And said, well, I know I am, but where else will I go to know what God's thinking about me? And they'd never mentioned God the whole time. I mean, but somehow that, that experience conveyed to them that there must be a God that's thinking something about them. And here's a place to come and see it on somebody's face. And I'll never forget that moment. I was as shocked as could be. I particularly remember this particular lady, because said, I don't have much money, so how about if I swap nude pictures of myself for therapy? Because I know most guys want nude therapy. That's how, nude pictures, and so that's how it all started out. To end up here would be like, who was going to guess this, right?
Yeah.
Again, this protector thing. I'm here, I have rest, I'm protected. And in the middle of that, I discovered who I am, and that there's a different way to handle life. And I think it's what every elder
Mhm.
actually has a chance to offer. That's not a result of having therapist skills. That's
Yeah.
a result of learning how to stay connected with God while things are weird.
Are
Yeah.
weird.
I mean, being offered that kind of a bargain,
Yeah.
that's like, I'm not expecting that when I came to work today.
No.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is yeah, I'm sorry. You
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 may have to edit this tape. I don't
no,
know.
we're gonna let this ride. This is great. This is fantastic. But I do have, so I have a question in that because part of, I'm kind of circling back to the general protector piece.
Mhm.
Um, because one of the things is, so it is being able to like see a weakness and then what am I going to do with that weakness? So we're protecting, um, like you're protecting yourself and you're protecting the community. And I
Yeah.
think in that space of like general protection and I see the weakness, it a lot of it too is about protecting them from themselves or protecting them as well as protecting the community. So what does that look like, or what are some practical things that maybe you've seen or that you've could talk to as far as helping people, protecting people from themselves in those spaces? Because like that, for instance, the woman who offered you nude pictures for, you're also protecting her
Mhm.
in that space. She didn't know that, but you were. And so I think that's an important piece to this too.
Um, the it's really hard to describe how that happens, but the it's like people know that uh, one way to get by with other folks is to let them exploit us. So if I
Mm.
let you take a bite out of me, maybe uh, you'll see some value in me. There's a thing, a plant, an animal called the sea cucumber I used to look at when I was out scuba diving. There's a bunch of them off the coast of California. They've got an interesting self-protection plan,
Mm.
and that is if a fish comes and attacks them, they turn their insides out and let the fish eat some of their intestines because they know they can grow some of them back again.
Wow.
But if it punctures their outside skin, they'll die.
Oh
So they
man.
actually
Wow.
turn the inside of themselves out and let the fish eat a little bit and go away in order to protect themselves. And this is the picture I always have about people. It's like,
It's
you're doing the sea cucumber thing. It's like,
wow.
well, you can nibble on me and maybe you'll keep me and you won't hurt me too much because I've sort of decreased your predatory thing. And so
Mm.
to be able to tell somebody, you know what, you're really quite delightful, and I can enjoy that better by protecting it because you know what, if I was to take advantage of that, I bet that a month, a year, 2 years from now, you wouldn't be nearly as fond of me as you would be if I
Mm.
protected it for you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if that I do that, we'll both still like each other in 2 years. And so I'm
And like
actually looking,
ourselves.
yeah, I'm
Right.
looking to make all relationships permanent.
Mm.
And if I take something, because that's how
Mm.
God created them, right?
Yeah.
Attachment's designed to be permanent.
Uh-huh.
Eternity is a very long time, and He wants all of these relationships to last.
Right.
So if I say, this is what we can keep and we'll love it forever, and the people who get to know us will also love it, that's what I want to grow.
Wow.
And the things that we could, you know, do, but they destroy us in the long run, that's just not nearly as appealing. And you are somebody I want to keep forever. So
Wow.
this, whatever we grow, I want to make sure, and I've found myself saying this, whatever we grow together, I want to make sure it's something that we can keep and we can use an example for other people as how they should live their lives.
Wow.
And if we do that, we're going to be really happy with each other, and this is going to work out well. Of course, people haven't heard anyone say that to them, and so they
No.
look at me like I still have no idea what you're talking about. But
Uh-huh.
this is a fascinating idea,
Mhm.
and let's see if it's possible.
Mhm.
And so I
Wow.
think that
Yeah.
that's probably the best I could answer your question,
That's a
although
great
it
answer.
has a lot more to do with what you do and don't do than what you say and don't say. And
Right.
we kind
Right.
of all know that's the case. It's like,
Hmm.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
It's the modeling piece.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and through this whole conversation, I've been thinking a lot about brothers and sisters in the family of God and how we've completely lost that element because of this, because we don't believe that we can be siblings. Like we believe it has to end up being predatorial and inappropriate. And we've lost that sharpening of one another because of that. And what you just shared of like, what would it look like if the goal was to keep and to grow something that lasts and it doesn't have to be inappropriate.
Yeah, I taught my
hard,
sons that the way they should go about dating is in such a way that if the woman they were dating eventually married somebody else, and I said the odds are that they will, whoever they marry would want to shake your hands and thank you for how you treated her while you were together. As opposed to, if I ever catch that guy, I'm gonna, kick his butt.
Yeah.
Right.
And, again, this is building permanence. And I think that's the basic idea in the kingdom of God. We're building relationships that should last, and they should last joyfully.
Yes.
So I thank my God every time I remember you, Paul says. Wouldn't that be nice to be just what we would always say about each other? Every time I remember you, I just am so thankful.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's what we're headed for.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's what we're
A more
working
human
toward.
community.
Yep.
That's so
I
good.
love that.
Okay. The next question is about enemy mode. And in your book, Escaping Enemy Mode, because the reality is we're talking about how we want it to be. And then there's also the fact that it's messy and we end up, unfortunately, chewing each other. So share a little bit about what enemy mode is, if you would, and then what does it look like for elders in the community to help us to not live in that enemy mode? And I think it plays into this whole weakness piece that we're talking about as well.
Yes. Well, to begin with, the most common trigger for enemy mode is feeling that somebody is lowering our status or is about to. And so part of what elders do, of course, if we're raising people's status, is to say, I know if you feel like your status is being lowered, but let's go back and ask Jesus if anyone can actually take away your status or not. Let's reconnect with, let's see what the truth is about this whole thing. And personally, as well as I know him, I think he says you're pretty special, so let's review that sort of thing. So it's this, the rescue attachment for enemy mode is whoever it is that feels like our enemy is somebody Jesus loves. Loves means he's got an attachment with them, right?
Right.
And he's got attachment with not how they're acting now, but who he means for them to be, which is what he wants to pull out of somebody. So if we're, by the way, your brain just drops into enemy mode the second we feel someone isn't on our side. So it'd be just really simple. You tell your child, pick up your room, you go back 10 minutes later, they didn't do it. You don't feel like they're on your side, right?
Wow.
Instantly, that child feels like your enemy. No, you wouldn't say they're your enemy because we're nice people. And so we wouldn't, want to think that. But our brain is beginning to react to them with like, you're not on my side. And, I'm ready to fight now because you've just disregarded my status as your parents. And we can think of a million examples. They're all that way. Very simple, somebody cuts in front of you in line, somebody cuts in front of you on the road. It's like, wait a minute, you disregarded my status. You're not on my side. You cut me off. And then we often go and do something stupid. But if we think to ourselves, all right, how does Jesus see that person? Well, he would see that person as not acting like the person he created them to be. Right? He wouldn't say, oh, they're just fine. I just love them the way they are. There's no. Okay, they're not being who I meant them to be. That's painful, isn't it? That's difficult. This is why I came to the world, and I actually had to suffer a lot to show people that what they thought was perfect was not the way I meant them to be. And so would you like to help me in that project?
That's good.
And we would say, I don't feel like it.
Right. No, thanks. I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Tapping out.
And Jesus said, well, now, would you like to see how I did that for you? And suddenly you feel a lot more humble, like,
Right.
oh, yeah, when we were still enemies. Yeah.
Mhm.
And when we start to appreciate that, then we say,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? Well, who would you like to be more like, the guy that cut you off, or would you like to be more like me? And right there we go, like, no, I want to be more like you.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it, but I really would be more like you than like them. And the person on the road may never know that they just drew you closer to Jesus.
Right.
Then, but this is how we grow. And I'm not sure if that answers your question, but
it does. I think
you were asking about elders.
Yeah.
Elders are supposed to be the ones who've done this enough that they remember when nobody else is.
Right.
This is when we go and connect with Jesus and remember he's trying to draw something out of that person. And the more they're acting like somebody he didn't create them to be, the more desire we're going to want to have to find who Jesus wants in the world and help other people become who he created them to be, because we're surrounded with a bunch of people that don't know. And so I think that answers the elder part. I don't know if clear enough, but
and I think the piece of elders being the ones who remind us that that's actually part of what we get to do for one another. Right. Like, as much as when you said, do you want to help me with that? Like, no, I don't. But don't you want others to help, to partner with God on your behalf as well? To help you become more like him? Oh, right. We do actually want that.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't mean it's painless. And that's why we avoid it.
And it doesn't mean it'll happen instantly.
Overnight.
We might
or
need a little
perfectly.
encouragement for that, just like we need a little encouragement to learn to read or do math or clean our rooms or whatever else we were learning along the way. That didn't sound like fun.
Right. And practice, lots of practice based at where we are at that moment,
But the payoff is worth it at the end, when we're able to persevere, to do the things, to do the hard thing, which is another maturity skill.
To become fully who we are.
And that's maybe another way to say what we need elders for, because we look at them and go, is it worth it in the end? And they've run the course far enough that they can say, if I had it to do over again, I certainly wouldn't learn to love like Jesus loves. Or they would say, yes, it was, and like you said, it's not easy. But you can tell when they're telling you that, whether they're reciting Christian talk, or because the ones that really know, you can see on their face that it wasn't easy. And you can see on their face that they still wouldn't do it a different way. And these are the things we just know by each other's faces more than words.
That is so true.
It's really good.
Okay, I have one last question. Do you want to ask your other question?
Well, I'll ask this question, and you've touched on it a little bit already, but again, with your work overseas and in different cultures, you have observed a lot of different cultures and how they have connected to and promoted is not the right word, but how they get relate to their elders and how they get it in that process. And so and actually adhering to the wisdom of elders. And so I'm curious if there are any practices that you've seen or different things in different cultures that would be maybe advantageous or good for us here in this conversation to know about, so we can also begin to honor our elders and listen to the wisdom that's there as well that they have to offer.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty simple, an elementary kind of a thing. But in the communities where there are elders, they don't appoint themselves. The few that do, they appoint themselves because they're wealthy, and in every case, they're hated by everybody around because they're just,
Wow.
They've claimed the title and they're going to enforce it whether you like it or not. Those are really toxic environments, and people hate the elders under those conditions. But where the elders have been picked by people, there's an interesting thing about the Old Testament and the laws about running out of debt into debt and making loans. You got to pick who it was that you would make a loan from in your community that was wealthy. You knew if you couldn't repay the loan, your children would become servants of that person. And they would have to take care of your kids and teach them how to actually run the business or do whatever it is. You're selecting sort of like, if I can't make my economy run, who do I want to have my children working with? You see.
Wow.
And of course, the way God designed that is eventually it's all going to revert back to you anyway. Now, that people never did that because they're greedy little monsters, but it's going to, so there's actually a way in which the community would pick an elder and say, you're the person who knows how to do business. You're the person who knows how to run a farm. You're the person. I'll borrow money from you because if I can't pay it back, we'll end up working together until I learn what it is that you know. And that kind of idea is actually where elders are the people who have the experience and abilities that other people would pick and say, yeah, if I have to, fail, you're the one I want to be able to rely on. And when the community picks elders because they respect them and they feel like you really know how to manage life, you have something that everybody recognizes and respects. If you try to disrespect those elders, the community will go around like, no, you don't, you're talking to so-and-so, and this is why we value him here. Most of the time in our culture, people pretty much self-appoint themselves as the elders.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it almost always turns out to be coercive.
Yeah.
And the other side is there are people out there who are functioning as elders. The community never recognizes them because they are narcissistic enough to force themselves into the position. Elders almost never want a position. They've got all the things they can handle anyway.
Right.
But if we were to give respect and actually the title to people who deserve it, say, you are like an elder to our community. We want to recognize that. We want to turn to you. And they'll go, well, I don't know if that's fine, but we've liked how you've lived. And so would you help us remember who we are?
Yeah.
Those are the two interchange. Don't let people assign themselves or give themselves the position. You'll be sorry they did. And when you find somebody, have a community that says, we recognize you as an elder, and if anyone needs an elder, we'll tell you who's actually qualified and who's a self-appointed narcissistic danger, actually, is what it is.
Predator. Yeah.
Yes, predator. And that's, I think, what I've noticed in these communities where the people have earned this, the community sustains it and recognizes it. And as soon as you go to community, you want to do something, the first thing they'll do is take you to the elders and say, okay, we know who they are. You're the people with the wisdom. If you convince them, we'll go along with you. And I don't know if that can be reduced easily to anything, but don't let people appoint themselves as elders. Look for the ones that are and enhance that within your community. If we start doing that, we would start growing better elders.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, and it comes back to status, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The elders who appoint themselves decide that their status is different than everybody else's.
Right.
And
and they're not looking to raise others, to keep everyone's status the same, to help them understand that no, we are all in the same place. Let me help you realize that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you notice.
Okay.
And for that reason, I think we've got actually some hope to do it.
Yeah.
Because there are some people like that. We could find them if we begin looking for them as a community. One of the things I also notice is that when wounded people go looking for elders, they almost always end up with the narcissists. Because
Yes.
they're the first in line to promote themselves. The real elders aren't out promoting themselves. So
that's good.
It's a protective thing too.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. Oh, we could get into a whole
conversation. That's another conversation. That's another podcast.
Well, sometime maybe you can have me back.
Oh, we would love that.
We'd love to do that.
We would love that. All right, before you go, I have a bit of a selfish question. This may or may not make it on the podcast, but it's a curiosity question along this conversation. So we are in a weird, I don't want to say stage of life, but for our ages, I'm 46, he's 48. We've been empty nesters for 7 years. We have grandchildren. We are like in this weird window of, I don't know what,
elder,
like
young
baby elder stage, young elder stage, but for sure because of age, very young elder stage. I'm not even sure what my question is, but like, what could we be doing, or what, I don't know what my exact question is, but yeah, what could we be doing to grow in this space? What would continue to make us grow into the healthy elders that we would love to be without rushing there, and while holding plenty of space with where we are, even though our life stage might be putting us further ahead.
Yeah.
Because they don't quite.
Interestingly enough, you don't go back too far till you encounter the average life expectancy being someone between 48 and 60. And so 40 has long been sort of the cutoff for beginning elders.
Wow.
So you're actually historically not that far. When people get married at 14, they're going to have grandkids and all that sort of stuff.
19.
And that's
Right.
that's how it was. Well, 19 you waited late, but you're still, we'll allow that. But that actually 12 to 14 for a long time has been is when we start thinking about it. The way it works is by swapping stories with other elders or people who are trying to become it. That's long and short. Elders have to develop each other. Anybody has any experience and aspiration, talk to them about, here's what I'm learning about being an elder. And they may have to start with, I don't think I'm an elder. I'm not in any church, like, well, that's not what we mean. But it's swapping stories. And even when you're telling your story, you'll find yourself figuring out a better way to do it. So that's that elders need each other, and that's one of my conclusions of the whole thing. We learn it from sharing stories, and they're hard to find, but they're worth looking for.
I think we're caught in this weird space between being elders but also never really having elders in our lives, and so we're also in that strange space of like we're quickly approaching that, it feels like, or in that space already, but we haven't really had people model that or be that for us, whether it's because parents weren't capable or we just weren't in healthy communities, because we were definitely those people who ran toward narcissists prior to finding this. So I think that's part of the question as well, of like, where does that like, it feels still like there's remediation work to do, and how can that even be done in this space?
Well, I'll just give you an answer for that when I was trying to figure out how to return to joy from anger, I went around asking people, what do you do when you're angry that you're really proud of afterwards? And I got the wackiest answers. I mean, I asked all kinds of people. I'd ask the clerk in the grocery store, somebody who's, sat down next to it in the park or wherever. And they would come up with these wacky stories, and I'd ask myself the question, why don't I like their answer? And by simply reflecting on why I didn't like that answer, I got closer and closer to what was going on. In the middle of it, I found a few other people the question actually started with was, when are you really proud to be a dad? Because I had no idea what being a dad would be. That would be good. So, and the guys would look at me like, "Can we talk about that?" It's like, I thought we talked about sports. I said, "No, I know we can talk about sports, but we could actually talk about why what is our best moments as a dad?" And
wow,
I don't know. No one's talked about that before. So actually, again, these conversations, even bad answers at this point, if you ask yourself the question, why don't I like the answer? It actually helps a small community work through the problem together. And the funny thing about the human brain is that if it knows I can find the answer, it does almost as well as if it knows the answer.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. It says, okay, I'm going to solve this, and I'm going to get better and better at it.
Keep working at it.
Yeah. And that's actually how you become an elder anyway, is by working at it and solving the problem. So So
no.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That is really good. I appreciate that. Yeah, just asking the question and just keep asking questions. And then and like you said, we learn through story, and we need each other. And so finding those people that are elders that we can ask those questions to. So we just want to thank you, Dr. Jim Wilder, for just your wisdom in this. And we are really excited to continue on this journey with you and learning from you. And we're going to be asking you some questions so we can grow into our elder maturity space. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
It's been wonderful being with you. Thank you for taking the lead and taking this out into the broader community. And I'm looking forward to see what kind of fruit grows on your tree.
Yeah.
Thank you. You've been listening to the Table and Well podcast. New episodes stream every Tuesday. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review to let us know. Also, subscribe on your favorite listening platform to stay up to date on all things Table and Well. To learn more, start your journey, or get information on how Table and Well can help develop your community, family, or teams to be relationally healthy and authentically connected, please go to tableandwell.org/collab to schedule an interest call, or you can email us directly at known@tableandwell.org.